What is going on, everyone? Welcome to week 1 of the PTL. My first Gen 8 draft league is finally here. This week we are going up against Papa Twigs. He is the coach of the Philadelphia Papa Pangoros, and he definitely is a scary team. I'll show the matchup right here. He has Falinks, Bronzong, Obstagoon, Whimsicott, Drapion, Jolteon, Turtonator, Golurk, Lapras, and Ninja. So a lot of cool mons. Honestly, it sort of throws back to my sort of opinion on how a lot of draft teams should be made, which is sort of making a bunch of mons of the same value and of the same, basically like a lot of mons that are like equally scary. So I really, he could bring any of the 10 that you see on your screen. It could really be any of them. I'm not too sure. There wasn't anyone that I was like 100% sure wasn't coming. Even Ninjask has pretty good utility against my team. So I had to prep for all 10 of them. But generally things like No Retreat Phalanx, Obstagoon hits very, very hard, as well as things like Whimsicott can be really tricky and run shenanigans that stops my my setup mons. But generally, I do feel like my team sort of out tiers his. I think that I just have stronger Pokemon overall, like Kommo-Woah and Cinderace. I don't think he has mons that like would tier higher than those two things. So generally, I do think I just have like strong mons on my team that can break his, but we'll end up seeing how it goes overall. I am sort of scared of things like Ninjask and Lapras, but honestly, I think I'll be okay. But generally, I don't really know how anyone in the league skill-wise is. Everyone who's in the league that I know is on my team, so it'll be very interesting to experience how other people play that I haven't necessarily seen play before. So that'll be very interesting. I'm going to go into the build. I hope you enjoy the way that this is made. I want to sort of up the quality of my videos, and also since this is a pretty competitive league, I don't want to end up revealing all of my sets super right away, so I'm really just going to limit it to Pokemon and items, and if the item is like so defining of the set, maybe I won't even reveal the item. But we did bring a Banded Cinderace because I don't think he has great fire switch-ins. We did bring a Clinger Assault Kommo-Woah with Fighting, Stab, and Ice Punch. We brought a Choice Scarf Braviary to outspeed things like the No Retreat Phalanx and even things like a Shell Smash Turtonator. We brought a physically defensive Hippowdon, although it does have a little bit of Spadef investment, as well as a Swords Dance Pixie Plate Mimikyu with dual stab, and then a Rest Talk setup Gothitelle. So yeah, these are actually the top 6 mons I ended up picking in my draft, which is actually kind of rare for me. I typically will bring some of my lower tier mons a little bit more often than the average player, but in this case, in this matchup, I did feel like the top 6 mons in my draft did do the job very well. So that is the build, and we are going to go into the game. Alright, so we are here. We are facing Papa Twigs. Like I said, I don't really know his playstyle. I don't know how he plays, but this is all going to be a learning experience. We're going to see how it goes. He did end up bringing most things that I thought. I did not think the Lapras would come, but seeing how it offensively squares up against my team, it does make a bit of sense. The one thing that didn't come that I was pretty surprised about is Obstagoon, as well as I'm kind of shocked Jolteon came. Between having like Bulletproof Kommo to stop Shadow Ball, and then like Hippowdon, which since Jolteon doesn't get Toxic Walls, Jolteon even more, I sort of just felt like Jolteon wasn't really likely to come. I even think I have things like Raichu, which has Lightning Rod. So I really didn't think Jolteon would come. I thought Obstagoon would come over this, but generally, the rest of the team makes a lot of sense. We're going to go into the game. I ended up deciding to lead Braviary. I figured that no matter what he led, even if he led Jolteon, I would pretty comfortably just be able to U-turn, and I'm actually pretty happy about this lead because it ends up telling me that this Lapras is max defense, which makes me very confident to just go into my Gothitelle and trap this thing right away. I will go for a Thunderbolt here because he doesn't reveal leftovers, so I think he might be Shed Shell, so I don't want to set up right away in case he goes into something that's like a setup stopper, specifically Whimsicott going for Encore, so I just go for a Thunderbolt to get damage, and he goes for a Parasong, which is really good prep on his part. I really wish this Thunderbolt pick up KO because it means that I'm going to be forced to switch out after I kill this Lapras. However, so be it. It ends up being okay in the end. He does end up chipping my Gothitelle down very, very much, which means I probably won't be able to set up and win with it in the end, which is pretty unfortunate, but honestly okay. Thankfully, the Thunderbolt ends up killing the Lapras. I do have to switch out unless I want my Gothitelle to die. Thankfully, Hippowdon's a pretty safe switch in, given that Bronzong can't run Toxic anymore, and so he does just get up the Reflect, which is sort of hinting to me, because I don't think it's time for Falinks to set up yet. Like, I just think, like, I have a defensive Hippowdon, I still have a Mimikyu without the Disguise broken, so I feel like he's actually going to be trying to go into a Turtonator Shell Smash sweep, and around this turn, I end up realizing that. And I don't really know how to prevent it other than just, like, keep applying offensive pressure. If I had Gunk Shot, I would have clicked it here to be able to lock myself into something a little bit better. But ultimately, I do just have to kill this Whimsicott off and allow the Turtonator come in and get one Shell Smash off. Thankfully, even behind the Reflect, I'll have to switch out. But, like, even behind the Reflect, I still think, like, Hippowdon can take one and can Earthquake. You know, I have a Choice Scarf Braviary. I still have a Mimikyu behind a Disguise, so I think I still have a lot of fail saves that can help against this Turtonator. So I know I can take one Flamethrower for max special attack Modest, but it ends up being, like, not even max special attack. So I do take some damage, but unfortunately that means Earthquake does less because he seems to have a pretty high amount of HP. I take this opportunity to sack my Gothitelle. I don't think there's any world in which he goes for another Shell Smash here. If he did, it would have helped me out because it would have lowered his defenses. But anyway, I sack Gothitelle. I go into Braviary, knowing that after I Brave Bird, I can still take a Flamethrower, which I do based on the damage that was done to the Hippowdon. And here he actually makes an interesting play and opts to go into Jolteon here. I understand the logic behind this play because I think he was trying to get, like, me to knock myself out with Brave Bird recoil by going into Jolteon. I just had some amount of HP investment, which made it so that I did not end up dying to the Brave Bird anyway. So, yeah, I am able to go into Hippowdon here. I was sort of hoping that he would go for Thunderbolt, but he actually ends up revealing the Hyper Voice. I didn't think that he would go for Shadow Ball against my Braviary, because I'm a normal type. So I actually thought Hippowdon was a very safe switching because there's no way he Thunderbolts and there's no way he... I feel like he would have to Thunderbolt because there's no way he Shadow Balls, but he ends up having Hyper Voice, which is really, really good prep, which forces me to sack my Hippowdon. So it is 4-4. However, Turtonator is dead to Rocks, which is cool, and Jolteon's going to die to Rocks after this turn. So he is sort of forced to stay in. He goes for Hyper Voice. If I was soundproof, that'd be amazing, but thankfully here I could just fire off my Clangorous Soul, get some of my HP down, but thankfully, since I'm Overcoat Kommo this week, I won't be taking Sand Chip, so I'll be gaining residual leftovers every turn. Overcoat was also to sort of stop things like Stun Spore Whimsicott, which could have been a problem. So generally, Overcoat definitely helped me out here because it means I'm gaining residual recovery against a lot of these mons. So he does go into Bronzong. I know for a fact I won't be doing a ton of damage to this thing, especially since it'll probably go for Reflect after this turn, but thankfully because of my Spadef boost, things like Psychic and even Psy Shock because of my defense boost will not be doing that much to me. So I can go for another Drain Punch, get about 10 left, 10 HP back as Psychic does about 38. Between leftovers and another Drain Punch, I'll be able to take another Psychic, which is great, and this is also really cool because it means I get to stall out Reflect turns at this point in time. So I don't know if it necessarily matters I have to stall out Reflect turns because I think this game's going to be over in about 4 or 5 turns. However, it's still just nice to be able to beat this Bronzong 1 versus 1 thanks to my defense boost, and honestly, Clangorous Soul Kommo is kind of a beast. So he does go into Phalanx here because it's his only mon that he has left, and I just sort of opt to stay in and Drain Punch. I don't want to try anything fancy. You know, this is the best case scenario I'll be in with my Kommo, so I have no reason to switch out. I'll just go for the Drain Punch. I considered going into Mimikyu on the close combat and just trying to win 4-0, but I have no reason to do that. I'm just going to let him go for a close combat, lower his defenses, which will allow me to come in with Mimikyu later games since his defenses will be lowered. So I will be able to go for one more Drain Punch. Close combat will kill my Kommo at this point. And then I can go into my Mimikyu and kill with a Shadow Sneak, and then Turtonator dies to Rocks. So that is a good game to Papa Twigs. Very, very fun. I like his team a lot between Parasong, Lapras, and like Tailwind and Reflect, all those like forms of support. It was definitely interesting to play around, and definitely a type of game that I don't get to play against very often. So very cool. Next week we play Zangoose, coach of the Arizona Diamondbacks, unless he's changed it. I'm not sure. I'm pretty nervous for that game. I actually played today, but I'm not like over the top nervous. Like my schedule is actually pretty fucking horrific and terrifying. I'm pretty sure my next 4 games are against people that like are some of the that's probably like the top 25% of the league. I believe I face Zangoose, and then Bredapus, and then Trogaholic, and then Ogle. So those are all people that, like, honestly, I could be 1-4 by the end of this, but I don't really mind. I'm just sort of here to have fun and try Gen 8 mons. I really enjoyed using my team this time, and hopefully I enjoy it in the future weeks to come. So thank you for watching, and I will see you all later.